With the combination of growing older and vision loss, folks who have cooked all of their lives stop. With some training and practice, everyone who wants to cook can get back to the range. We will offer a few suggestions which might be of help. Pathways to independence. Cooking. Assembling cooking items. For the purpose of demonstrating a few skills, we will be preparing a baked lasagna over the next few lessons. One of the easiest ways to simplify making any recipe is to prepare yourself and your working area before starting to do the actual cooking. First, read through your recipe completely, and then clear your work area of all unnecessary items to allow room to cook. Locate and localize all of the ingredients you will need for the recipe. Use a pan to collect all items you need. You will need 1 pound lean ground hamburger, 1 onion, 1 jar spaghetti sauce, 1 clove garlic, 1 box lasagna noodles, salt and pepper, flour, cottage cheese, green onions, oregano, 1 pound shredded mozzarella cheese, and 1 egg. Find and conveniently place the utensils that you will need. For the lasagna, this is an 8-quart pan to boil the noodles, a colander in which to strain them, a tall-sided pan to brown the hamburger and make the sauce, measuring cups and spoons, and 1 mixing bowl in which to prepare the cheese filling. Put each ingredient back in its storage area after you use it. This will also help to assure you that you have included everything in the recipe. Centering a pan. Make sure you are familiar with the way your stove is arranged. Check it out thoroughly while the heat is off. Study where the switches are and which one controls which burner. This can be done by turning on the switch and holding your hand about 6 inches above the burners until you feel the heat. The easiest way to center a pan is to place it on the burner while the burner is turned off. Use your hands freely to make sure that the pan is exactly where you want it. If other burners are being used, or the burner you wish to use is still hot, keep your hands off. Another method is to use a utensil to help you locate the burner. Place your utensil on the side of the burner and use your other hand to bring the pan to the burner and place it next to the utensil. Once the pan is approximately centered, move the utensil around the bottom of it, adjusting as needed. Make sure the handle of the pan is out of the way. Once the heat is on, you can check periodically to see if the pan is centered by holding the handle and moving your other hand above the pan. If the pan is not centered correctly, there will be spots where you will feel more heat. Boiling water. If the directions say bring 4 to 6 quarts of water to a rolling boil, use an 8-quart pot with 2 handles. The extra room will allow the water to boil without boiling over. Fill the pot half full and center on the burner. Turn on the burner. If your hearing is normal, you will be able to hear the water when it comes to a full boil. If you have impaired hearing, you can test by holding on to the handles of the pot. There will be a marked vibration when a full boil is reached. A talking thermometer could also be used. If you are boiling just a small amount, a glass measuring device with a pouring spout can be heated in the microwave. Draining pasta or vegetables. Using a colander to drain boiled vegetables and pasta can be done safely with adequate practice and training. A practice with cold water is advisable. Locate all of the items you will need. Is there a clear path from the stove to the sink? Is the sink clear of obstacles? Place the colander in the sink. Ensure that it will be large enough to hold the items to be drained. Is there somewhere near the sink to place the hot pan before and after pouring the noodles? For this practice session, fill the pan approximately half full. Place the pan on the stove. Use pot holders to pick up the pan and move it to the sink. Set the practice pan down on a secure surface and locate the colander in the sink. Move the pan to the sink and, making sure that the lip of it is near the center of the colander, pour the water through the strainer. Set the pan on the surface. Practice with cold water until you feel comfortable, and then move on to boiling your lasagna noodles. Setting a timer. A standard kitchen timer can be used by an individual who is visually impaired. Most are arranged much like a clock face, 0 and 60 minutes located at 12 o'clock, 15 minutes at 3 o'clock, and so on. If you like, tactile markings can be placed on the face of the dial in 5-minute increments. Peeling. When peeling a carrot, start at one end of a carrot and pull the peeler straight down the carrot away from your body. Use the thumb or a finger to mark where you started. Rotate the carrot slightly and locate the tip of the thumb with the peeler and repeat. For round items, apples or potatoes, a circular pattern starting at one end and going around the item progressing toward the bottom will work. Again, mark the stopping place with a finger or thumb. If areas that are missed are hard to feel, putting the fruit or vegetable under running water will make the surface textures more noticeable. Chopping vegetables. For our lasagna, there are a few vegetables that need to be chopped. First, find a knife that you are comfortable with. Place a cutting board on your counter. Having a trash can or garbage bowl near your work area will help eliminate obstacles and lots of walking as you work. Also, have a bowl ready in which to place the chopped onion. Place the white onion on the cutting board and cut in half, bisecting both the root and stem. Part of the root should be on each half. Lay the flat side on the cutting board and place your knife cutting edge toward the board, next to the root end of the onion. Holding the onion with your non-dominant hand, slowly move the knife up about half an inch on the onion and cut off the root. Repeat with the other 3 ends of onion. Make sure to discard the pieces as you cut. Now it will be easy to peel away the paper on the onion. If you are in doubt, just slip off the first full layer of the onion. Place the flat side of the onion on the cutting board and, using the same technique as cutting off the end, keep the knife in contact with the top of the onion and cut through the onion at about half-inch intervals. While holding the onion for cutting, make sure your fingers are curled back out of the way of the blade. Turn the onion 90 degrees and make cuts all of the way through. Place the pieces in their bowl and repeat with the other onion half. The green onions are even easier. Bunch clean onions together with the roots at one end. Cut off about half an inch at the root end and throw away. Using your non-cutting hand to measure, cut the onion into 1/4-inch pieces. There will be a noticeable change in texture as the green progresses. Keep the fingers on the hand holding the onions curled back. For our lasagna, you will also need to chop the garlic. Place the garlic on the cutting board and lay the flat side of the knife on top of the garlic clove. Using your other hand, quickly and sharply hit the flattened knife that is laying over the garlic. This will pop the garlic clove open. You can peel the paper off, cut the rough flat end off the garlic, and chop the clove up. The main things to remember when chopping anything are to cut a flat surface on the vegetable or fruit to place on the board. Keep a clean, distraction-free work area and have a place to put the finished product. Measuring and mixing. The best non-visual ways to measure all start with graduated measuring devices. A set of measuring cups which has 1, 1/2, 1/3, and 1/4 sizes, and spoons with 1 tablespoon, 1 teaspoon, 1/2 teaspoon, and 1/4 teaspoon are quite inexpensive and very easy to use. The key is to be familiar with your set so that you know exactly which measures you have. To demonstrate, we will go back to our lasagna recipe. We will make the cheese filling. Measure the 2 cups cottage cheese into a measuring cup over the cottage cheese container to catch the overflow, if any. Add to the mixing bowl. As always, when done with the cottage cheese, put it away. Using the same cup, measure the 1 cup of mozzarella and add it. You can use a spoon or fork, or your hand on top of each of these ingredients to check to make sure that the cup is full. For the oregano, find the teaspoon. Open the oregano and dip the teaspoon in. Use the inside edge of the bottle or a knife edge to level the measure as you take it out. Use the flat edge of the knife on the 1 tablespoon flour as you did with the oregano. Cracking and separating eggs. Our lasagna filling needs 1 egg. Place the egg in a little bowl to keep it from rolling around. It is a good idea to first crack the egg into a small bowl to make sure it is fresh and shell-free. If you've never cracked an egg or haven't lately, here is one way to do it. Tap the egg firmly on a flat surface or the edge of a glass or metal bowl. When the egg is cracked, use both thumbs to open the egg over the bowl. Check with your fingers to ensure there are no shell pieces. Some recipes call for separating an egg. The easiest way to separate an egg is to pour the egg into a funnel which has been placed over a container. The white will run through the funnel into the glass, and the yolk will stay behind. There are egg separators that you could use also. Add the chopped green onions and the egg and mix. To mix, a couple of adjustments will make the process a bit easier. Always use a bowl which is only half full when you have all of the ingredients in it. The large bowl will allow you to be fairly energetic with stirring and still not spill. Use a spatula or other large surface device which allows a lot of ingredients to be moved at once. Circle the outside of the bowl, but make sure to cross over the middle and scrape up the ingredients in the entire bowl. Pull mixture from the edges into the middle. Often, a figure-8 type movement will work well. Frying. You will need a frying pan with high sides to keep the meat inside the pan and slightly reduce spatter, and a spatula or fork. Center the pan on the burner. Remove the piece of paper from the hamburger, which is often placed in the package to absorb juices. Crumble the hamburger into the pan. Turn the burner on medium heat. Use the spatula or fork to break up the meat and keep it moving in the pan. Shake the seasonings into your hand for portion control and then spread over the hamburger. Add the white onion and garlic so they can brown also. Test for doneness periodically. While raw, it will be mushy to the touch. As it becomes more done, the feel will become much more firm. Experienced cooks will recognize the smell of well-browned hamburger. Drain the cooked meat in a colander set over a pan. Return the meat to the pan and add the jar of sauce. You can locate the center of the pan with the fork or spatula. Layering. To assemble your lasagna for baking, let's discuss a few suggestions for ending up with nice, even layers. Arrange all of the items and ingredients you will need on a clear working area. Those items include a 9 by 13 inch pan, boiled and cooled noodles, filling, sauce, grated cheese, 1 cup measure, 1/2 cup measure, and a large spoon. With your clean hands, fill the bottom with a single layer of noodles. Dip 1 cup of sauce onto the noodles. Use the back of a large spoon to spread the sauce evenly from one end of the pan to the other. Add another layer of noodles. Add 1/2 cup measure of the filling. Use the large spoon to spread it. Continue layering until all the ingredients except the cheese have been used. Top with grated cheese. Put the cheese on with your hands. Start at one end of the pan and, in a back and forth manner, move over the whole pan. If there is still cheese left, turn the pan a quarter turn and repeat the process. Instead of eyeballing the ingredients, simply use measuring cups to make your lasagna picture perfect. Bake at 350 degrees for 30 minutes covered with foil and 15 additional minutes uncovered. Oven temperatures vary, so your time may vary. More frying. We will now fry a hamburger patty. Season it as demonstrated before. Place the meat in the pan and bring the heat up to medium. Test for doneness by touching the meat with the back of the spatula. The more done the meat gets, the firmer it will be. To turn the patty, locate the burger with the spatula. Slide the spatula under the patty. Using your free hand, carefully follow down the handle of the spatula until you find the burger. Use one finger to keep the patty in place on the spatula and flip it over. Use the same method to remove the burger when it tests done. If you cook more than one hamburger, be aware of the pattern you used when placing them in the pan. Plugging in appliances. Find the outlet, keep one hand on it, and locate the cord for the appliance with the other hand. Place a fingernail in the farthest socket eye. The majority of your hand will be off of the fixture area. Bring the cord up to the thumb, aligned with the socket, and use the back of your thumb to direct the plug into the socket. You might have to reverse the plug. Using an electric mixer. Now let's practice our skills by making a red velvet box cake. We will need an electric mixer. Virtually all handheld mixers have separate beaters which must be inserted in the mixer in the correct alignment. Become familiar with your mixer and how the beaters fit in. Using a bowl that will hold twice as much as you are mixing is a good idea. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Grease and lightly flour the pan. Using methods already shown, add 1 1/4 cups water and 1/3 cup oil into a bowl with the cake mix. Crack 3 eggs into a separate bowl and add to the mix. Turn the mixer on. Turn off the mixer periodically and run the spatula around the whole bowl, including going across the middle and making sure that batter is pulled forward for the mixer to work on. Pouring into a pan. You will need enough room to set down both the mixer bowl and the pan that you're pouring into. Check the size and orientation of the pan so that you have a good feel for what the batter will do when you start pouring. Bring the batter bowl to the cake pan. If needed, trace around the edge of the pan again to reorient yourself to the area. Move the bowl so the lip is halfway into the pan area. Check with your hand to make sure that the bowl will be pouring only into the pan. Pour in the batter. Use small movements with the spatula around the bowl to get all the batter out. Pick the cake pan up with both hands and gently tap the bottom on the counter to level the batter. Using an oven and testing for doneness. It is essential that you are very familiar with the placement of the racks. When the oven is cool, check inside with your hands to make sure that they are properly placed for the recipes you are preparing. Clear a space either on top of or near the stove to place the item before and after baking. Most recipes will call for preheating the oven. Some ovens will have an audible tone indicating when the temperature is reached. If not, setting a timer for 10 minutes should allow ample time for heating. When the correct temperature is reached, open the door completely and use both hands with or without oven gloves, as you desire, to place the container. If you don't remember exactly where the shelves are, you can use a fork or other utensil to find an open area. Some people find it easier to place the container if they pull the shelf out about 1/3 of the way. If you do that, make sure to push it back in before closing the door. After closing the door, set the timer. To test for doneness, open the door, locate the proper shelf with a utensil, pull the shelf out about 1/3 of the way, and, using the utensil, again find the edge of the pan. Carefully touch the center of the cake with a finger. If it bounces back, it is done. Also, a toothpick inserted near the center of the cake will come out clean if the cake is done. Just rub your fingers over the toothpick after taking it out. Frosting a cake and spreading butter. The key to frosting a cake or spreading anything such as butter or mayonnaise is really based on 3 essentials. First, make sure you are using the right utensil for the task. Second, assure that the materials are as spreadable as possible. Third, always think in patterns when doing the actual spreading. Let's frost our cake to demonstrate. As usual, prepare a clear working space and get everything out that you will need before beginning to work. We're going to use prepared frosting, a flat rubber spatula, and our completely cooled cake. Do not try frosting a warm cake unless the recipe specifically calls for it. Check the layout of the cake. We are going to place a portion of frosting in each corner of the pan, 2 evenly spaced measures along each long pan edge, and 2 measures of the frosting in the middle of the cake. By doing this first, you will be assured that the whole cake is covered. Using your plastic spatula, start in one corner of the cake. Where is not important, but knowing the pattern you intend to use is. A light hand is essential here to keep from tearing the top of the cake. Drag the flat side of the spatula gently all the way around the edges of the pan. The handle should be toward the center of the cake. Keep one side of the spatula in contact with the pan. If you need to stop the movement, remember where that was in the pattern and start from there. This will frost the edges and the corners. Return to one end of the cake with the spatula. Start dragging the flat spatula from the top of the pan to the bottom and move it across the cake in increments of about 2 inches each until you have reached the end. If you like, you may repeat the motion back across the cake or do the same maneuver lengthwise to assure coverage. The same type of process is used to butter bread. Place a dollop of soft butter along one edge of the bread and use the flattened edge of a butter knife to pull the butter across the bread. Turn the bread 45 degrees and pull the knife gently across the surface from one side to the other and back again. Measuring liquids. Let's explore some different methods for measuring liquids. Start with graduated measuring devices. Pour some of the vanilla into a cup and scoop out the teaspoon that is needed. Either use a small funnel to return the unused portion, or if the cup has a pour spout, pour it back into the bottle. Cold liquid, like milk, can usually be felt as it is poured into the measure. Hold the measuring cup over a bowl. Place the pointer finger curled just over the edge of the measuring cup with the tip of the finger just below the rim on the inside of the cup. Pour the milk slowly into the cup until you feel it with the fingertip. The scooping method described earlier can be used for milk also. Oil, if placed in the refrigerator, can be measured in the same way. At room temperature, most people find it hard to feel the liquid as it reaches the fingertip. Water, of course, can be measured in the sink. Following a recipe. A common concern about cooking without vision is, how do I read my recipe? Braille recipes and recipe books are available. There are some large print cookbooks available. You or a friend or relative can use a computer to type your recipes into a print size that you can read. Many people like to use recorded recipes. When using recorded recipes, you have complete control over the way the recipe is arranged. One suggestion is to start by listing all of the ingredients,
1 clove garlic, 1 box lasagna noodles,
and then the utensils needed so you can organize them.
An 8-quart pan for...
Listen to the entire recipe first. Prepare the area and then go back to the ingredients section of the recipe. Listen to the first section, pause the recording, and complete the task. Repeat this until you have completed the recipe. Using a microwave. With proper training, the microwave can still be a helpful tool, just as it is to fully sighted cooks. The only real adjustment that needs to be made is to tactually mark the operation buttons or dial on the microwave. Microwaves have different buttons depending on the brand. Become familiar with your microwave. You can mark the 5, 0, and start buttons. With the index finger located on the 5 button, every other button can be found and any time combination set. Using an indoor grill. If you have concerns about frying food, consider an indoor grill since there is no flipping involved. We'll practice with a small grill and a pork chop. You will need 1 pork chop, seasonings, the grill, the grease catcher that goes under the lip of the grill, a timer if the grill does not have one, a fork, and a plate on which to place the cooked chop. Examine the grill completely before you plug it in. It will start to heat immediately. There are 2 main parts that open much like a clam or oyster shell. Place it so the hinge is toward the back of the counter and the opening toward you. Make sure that there is enough overhead clearance for the lid to remain open on its own. Both the upper and lower surfaces are marked like a regular grill. Both sides heat and cook. The front edge is open to allow grease to be released. Close the lid and check the controls. A reader may be necessary the first time you use the device. Season the pork chop. Practice placing the chop on the grill before it is plugged in. Use a fork to locate the front edge. Use the fork to find a clear spot on the surface. Remember, the grill will be hot when you do this next time, so keep your fingers away. Now remove the pork chop. Plug in the grill. Set the timer for 5 minutes, since it will take that long to come to full heat. When the timer goes off, open the grill, place the pork chop, and set the timer. The grill cooks on both sides at the same time, so a short cook time is usual. Check your manual for suggested cook times. When done, open the grill, locate the chop with your fork, remove it, and place it on your plate. Unplug the grill and enjoy. There are really endless ways to use the indoor grill. Making grilled cheese sandwiches, fresh vegetables marinated in Italian dressing, bacon, and salmon are just a few. If you enjoy indoor grilling, consider working on some skills to use an outdoor grill. Vision or lack of it might slow you down, and mature years might subtract a bit of bounce in the step. But if you want to cook, there is absolutely no reason you can't do the same things you used to do on a daily basis. Written by Bob Shankland. Volunteers: Darlene Dodson, Terry Heaney, Cheryl Simons. Narrated by Barbara Lose. Producer: Kent Taylor, Taylor Productions. Production Coordinator: Deanna Jesse, Program Specialist for Older Blind Services. Pathways to Independence, a production of Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. www.ncbvi.ne.gov